Howdy, it's Matt. Now this is a very quick Reddit video and it's for my own reference really. The Sidewinder, she's here, she's going back with whatever parts I can find from it. I've taken my parts out there. Obviously this wing was very mildly modified, as in I put a hole up inside of the little battery bay, or sorry, the receiver bay here, and I obviously put my own FPV kit in there. Besides that, the model's completely stock. We don't have a propeller on her at the moment. That's because I did swap the propeller over from the 555, whatever it was, to a 5045, which still made it flutter. Now, the one thing which I have picked up is that just one very minor detail. Is that if you can see here with that fin, is that this fin, while it's got the same angle, it's slightly moulded differently because we've got two left wing fins on the bottom. But one thing which I really have picked up and taken away, and I just want to give you a quick walk over the model to show you it really was just a stock model, nothing special about it at all. It is, as for all intents and purposes, as it came and arrived to me. Is the one thing that was just over the desk once I'd taken it out, and I noticed when I was leaning on it just to take the screws out, is that this wing really does have an awful lot of flex in it, and this isn't going to come out on the camera because the blooming thing's not big enough, but there is. I don't know how much you can see there, and I'm not putting like a lot of weight on that. I'm just pushing, not even denting the foam or anything like that. There is a very, very large amount of flex in both of these wingtips, and I've got a suspicion, okay, now I'm not going to go and cut this model apart, I've got a suspicion that maybe one or more of these, the little carbon fibre spars on there have already been broken. I know many people called out on this, well Matt, why don't you add more carbon? Well, to be honest, if you look closely, there's a carbon strip down there, one would hope. There's another strip going down there. There's a spar across the middle, and there's carbon down the leading edges as well. So they have put a fair amount in there. It would be curious to see if it has broken anywhere along there. And again, you'll see that I've not even tried to investigate in there. I would suspect that just look at the amount of flex in there. One I can show I just up on here. Look. There's just tons and tons of flex in this airframe. It is very, very, very easy for it to move up and around. Now, obviously, it wasn't, well, I can't remember back to when it first arrived here, but we need flex in models, but that does kind of indicate or give us a good idea that when this model does hit that speed envelope, remember we were chatting about the speed envelope in the RC Coffee Chat, is that this model's designed to do a ton, but when you take it that little bit extra, that's when it does start to oscillate, and it's kind of obvious now that this airframe isn't stiff enough to be able to cope with it. That's why if you've got a Sidewinder and you put some tape on it or some laminate on there, by the way, you can put glass weave tape on top of these, but remember glass weave tape is not UV resistant, so you'll want to put some coloured tape or something on top of it just to keep the UV rays out of it, otherwise it won't last a week. But coming up with something like tape in the wing, laminating it will help, that's for sure. We know it's a fast airframe. It's a very, very fast airframe. So, yeah, I'm just thinking realistically for you is that you're running out of spots to put carbon in there. It's not like say a right wing model where they put carbon on the top and on the bottom. They double up the spars. So you've got carbon on the top and you've got carbon or glass fibre rod on the top and the bottom. That makes a very, very stiff airframe. And plus it's also laminated, so it gets even stiffer with that as well. You are a little bit limited because they have put the carbon or the glass fibre rods in the side of there, and they're right in the middle of the airframe, which again logically kind of makes sense, but it does need doubling up. Anyway, the point of this video was just to point out it's unmodified, again stock ESC in the bottom, as I've always run in there, not even taking the screws out on there. Just really disappointing, really disappointing. You can also see just there that it started to bubble, that front edge where it's been flapping around. Look, you can see actually, if you look too closely, there's 2 points where the front leading edge has started to bubble. One here just in front of the servo, And there's another piece just here as well, in front. How well is that coming out? Yeah, just kind of well. You started to bubble there and started to bubble there. So that's where that wing really has been flexed. Yeah, so I'm going to keep this video short, more of like I said, a video record for my own purposes. But this wing does have so much flex in it, it is just ridiculous, and that'll be the cause for it, is because it's just so easy to make it flex. And whether that's because this model has been fluttered several times, I would probably suspect so, if I'm honest. Remember, that was one of my concerns about the Sidewinder, is that if you do make it oscillate, then suddenly you have been and compromised the airframe, and it's not an airframe which I want to have flying over my head. Hopefully, fingers crossed, is that they'll come up to a solution to this and bring out a V2. I would personally love to see a version 2 of the Sidewinder, one which isn't being forcibly underpowered by not putting a decent prop on the back of it, and it can cope with that little bit extra, so that it can be raced, it can be pushed at the limits, and it won't try and self-destruct itself at the limits as well. So yeah, Sidewinder, yeah, sad day, really sad day. But keep in the back of it, maybe just notice the creases. There's little things which I'm noticing. I was just about to wrap up then, I just looked down. Let me zoom right in. There's creases in that sticker all the way across there. That is not good. In fact, I'm just going to put, there's creases out here on the wingtip, and I know I've just been flexing it and everything, but it's nothing compared to what it would have been suffered in the sky. And I'm just wandering across as well. And yeah, and you've got creases out here on the wingtips, and I have not hit this model. I've not crashed this model, or should I say landed this model at all. And the top pieces are all still stuck on as well. They are, it was Yoo-Hoo Paul which I used on there. And I'm just having a quick look along there. And again, yeah, obviously there's a few skagging marks up underneath and stuff. And I need to zoom out a bit, don't I? Yeah, obviously there's a few scaggy bits where I've been to hit it in a few places when we first flew it up at the farm. But you can see even on the bottom, it's not even had that much like wear from the limited number of times which I've flown it. So yeah, very, very peculiar, very disappointing. I think it's disappointing for many different reasons. It had so much potential to be such a great wing. I sincerely hope that they bring out a V2 with some modifications to it. Hopefully with a stiffer airframe. So yeah, sad times. I don't like sad videos either. So let's not leave this on a sad point. Let's leave this on a very positive point, which is, number one, HobbyKing have been great about getting this item returned. Whether they take it off sale or not is their prerogative. I've put my stake in the sand and said this is my opinion. I do feel that this model should be recalled. I don't think it's what we envisaged or even hoped it to be, and I think that's probably the same for HobbyKing, if we're honest, as well, or Durafly. It's so sad. Is this going to stop me buying from HobbyKing? Of course it's not. You got to be nuts. They've got some fantastic models. They've got a good range of supporting products like lipos. I've got a pack. I've got 3 lipos on the way to me today, hopefully, or tomorrow, from HobbyKing. It's not going to stop me from buying from HobbyKing. It's just the way it is. So yeah, keep in the back of your mind is that this one was obviously a disappointment, but there's loads of models out there. There's an FMS Edge 540 out there, which I'm repairing at the moment. I managed to completely destroy the landing gear. And my quick point of going off topic there is that there is a very, very wide variety of models available to us as RC hobbyists, and I want to leave this on a positive point, which is that while this model has not met our expectations, there are plenty of other models out there which can do these kind of speeds. Some are plug and play, some are not, and we are in a very lucky time as far as this hobby goes, because it's very inexpensive. You can, in this instance, buy a model which costs £100, say $130, and it does 100 miles an hour. That is good times. That's good times. Now, obviously, it's not like your typical toy, you know, but it's good times. We are in very, very good times when it comes to this hobby, because there is such a variety out there now, and it very is a modeler's market. Let's leave that on a positive point. So for myself, Matt, thank you ever so much for taking the time to watch this episode. Sidewinder, she is going to get boxed up and sent away today for a refund. To be honest, there was a little, again, one of the comments I want to pick up, there was a mention that I could have a store credit or a refund. To be honest, I'm quite happy with a store credit. Like I said, I'm going to continue on going on and buying items from HobbyKing. I've got some batteries which I need to get, some other batteries which I needed to get ordered as well. So I'm sure store credit is going to get spent. But hey ho, from myself, Matt, thank you very much for taking the time to watch this episode, and hopefully in the next episode it will be a much cheerier topic, and I'll see you again shortly. Cheerios.